Hey you guys, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back to Nicola Land. We are happy to have you. We are happy to have Angie here. We have Pastor Martin here. These people are just loaded with information, and we have both of them together. Listen, the excitement is all time high. But today, we are going to be having a very serious discussion. We are talking about depression and anxiety. And this is so dear to my heart. Listen, this is so close to home. So it's important for me that I get this information and share it with you guys because I wish I had that information. I'm gonna be so vulnerable and honest right now. I wish I had that information when I was younger because I honestly truly needed it. So welcome Angie and welcome Pastor Martin.
Thank you.
Hi.
Alrighty, so let's get into this discussion. Promise me you won't make me cry today because I don't look pretty when I cry. So there's none of that involved today. Right, so let's talk about depression and anxiety. What is depression? We'll start with you. I'm gonna get a definition of depression from you, Sanji, and then I wanna get a definition of anxiety from you, Pastor Martin, if that's okay.
Okay, good day to you, Video Land Media. It's another opportunity for us to be here with you to give you information. I pray God that you are receptive to it. Depression. When we have depression, oftentimes we hear people saying, I feel so depressed. But I'm going to give you an information. Depression is just not one day. It's extreme sadness over a period of time from 2 weeks onwards. So a lot of things bring about depression. Sometimes a loss in the family, a loss of job, a loss of a best friend. Your social network is no longer supportive to you. So all of this can bring about depression. But I just want for you to remember that it is extreme sadness over a period of time from 2 weeks onwards. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Pastor Martin.
Yes, so when we talk about anxiety, in its most simplistic terms, let's talk about chronic worrying, right? And this type of chronic worrying manifests itself in muscle pain, tension, breathing challenges. Well, we'll know it as hyperventilation, a panic attack, these type of things. So it's chronic worrying to the point where now it inhibits your function of moving forward.
Thank you so much. So, you guys, we are living in a world where a lot of people, like, I want to stay away from the whole thing where people diagnose themselves because we get that a lot. And which is, I'm not going to say go out there and diagnose yourself, but there are people who are truly depressed. They're facing these challenges. You know, what causes somebody to move from having like, okay, I'm having a challenge today, I'm overcoming that challenge, to I feel that I cannot overcome that challenge, and it's just like I'm going into that deep state of depression where I'm sinking in and I just can't seem to get out. I can't catch a breath, in other words.
Okay, there are 3 stages of depression. There is mild, moderate, and severe. So the mild is the one where you just starting to feel the sadness, and sometimes it's difficult for you to find your way. But if you are caught on early, meaning that you are aware of what is happening to you and you seek help at an early age, you'll not be able to go on to the moderate. Because the thing about that is finding help at an early age, at first, an early stage. Because when you get to that severe depression, my goodness, it is so bad that it also leads to suicidal ideations. And sometimes you do not even, that hygiene that you had before is no longer effective because you just enclose yourself, you isolate yourself from the world, from family, from everybody else, and you just wallow in self-pity, and you just feel sorry for yourself, and no matter how somebody tries to help you, you just say, I cannot get help because only negativity comes out of you, send a lot of negative energy, and that in itself is a downfall.
If I could just jump in as well, because to highlight something that we are now starting to talk about when we're talking about depression, which is also high functioning depression, yeah, or persons that are high functional depressed individuals. Now, I must say that this is not a diagnosis. You cannot diagnose someone for high functional depression, but it's just an observation in academia right now that you have persons who do not fit the natural symptomatology for depression, which is you want to be away from people and stuff like that. They're actually able to perform at a high standard. However, when they crash, they really crash. So most of these persons are persons who are in leadership positions. They are CEOs of companies. They are famous individuals. So we'll see it in our news. I never knew that this person never looked like if they were suffering with depression, because they are able to pull themselves together for the task that they need, and then in private, they would have these crashes. Yeah. They normally fit the trend of something that is called pervasive depressive disorder, which go on for years, but it's just basically highs and lows with these individuals. So even our friends who we see as being strong and they are superheroes, we need to also check on those individuals.
So from what you said there, I gather it is a high level of stress, because since you mentioned CEOs and managerial position, these people are under a lot of stress, and when the stress is not managed effectively, then it can lead into depression.
Correct, correct. And we know that these persons don't often get a time to show weakness, or we don't
Yes.
allow these type of people to show any type of weakness.
That's really interesting. A lot of times I just thought it was just hidden well, but then it's interesting to. I've never heard that perspective on it, so I'm grateful for that. Let's talk about we have, and I like to target young people. My true passion is young people, honestly. Let's talk about these young people. They're in school. What what is causing somebody that is so young to go to that stage of depression? You have young people committing suicide, and we're like, you're in school. What do you have to worry about? All you have is just exams. What is causing that? What is causing the flip? Anyone could jump in.
Okay, well, for someone that my main field is adolescents and juveniles, so the amount of stimulus that young people have in terms of what they should look like, how they should feel, what is trending right now, all these things bombarding them at once, um, in contrast with some of their realities at home, yeah, could cause a person or a young person to go into a place of depression. So low self-esteem will add there, abuse in the household, not having someone that they believe that they could talk to. And I want to come back to abuse, because when we talk abuse, we're talking mental, physical, sexual, yeah, and not feeling like they have a voice, yeah, because one of the symptoms of depression is sadness and hopelessness. So if we look in terms of social media and they're saying you need to look this way, you need to dress this way, you need to have these type of things, that affects your self-worth and your self-esteem, which could bring you down. If we're talking about factors in the home, abuse, lack of love, these type of things happening at home, and you feel like you have no voice, then the only thing for you to do is to basically internalize those emotions, which in itself is like poison.
Mm.
Wow. Do you want to add anything to that, Anchi, or should I move on to my next question?
So you could move on. That was sealed. Well
All
explained.
right. Thank you so much. So let's talk about anxiety. We have a lot of people in this world talking about anxiety. I have spoken with poetry about anxiety now. It seems to be like it's almost like it's a big thing, but it's really not like pretty. It's popular, but it's not pretty. Let's talk about anxiety. What what is this about? Why are so many people anxious? So what is going on?
You see, anxiety is also normal, because If you have an exam, you get anxious. If you have a loved one that you have not seen for a long time, you get anxious. If you are in an unhealthy relationship, you are anxious. But when it goes beyond uncontrollable, that's where the problem is. You cannot function normally anymore. You just cannot think straight, you cannot think right, you cannot make sound decisions, and your thoughts are always confused. You cannot even speak fluently because everything is just so crumbled up in your mind that you cannot be eloquent in speech. And when these things happen, it comes from way down on the inside. Like earlier, my brother spoke about the different types of abuse. And when it comes to psychological and emotional abuse, I always say this is the one that you cannot see. And this is the one that is more dangerous because it is easier to hide it. You know, sometimes people carry masks, but you cannot carry a mask for forever. So then it begins to show in your body. Sometimes you just shake uncontrollably. Like sometimes you see somebody sitting and their feet just going like this, and you wonder, but what is happening? It is all because of anxiety. And if you are not comfortable with yourself and be able to rest properly, then you will have further insomnia. Either you cannot sleep or you sleep too much, you eat too much or you don't eat at all, you know, and all of these things are unhealthy for us as human beings.
Wow. Okay. So this is hitting home in so many ways, but wow. Okay. Let's let's talk about. Okay, we have adults who are facing. We have mothers, like grown people. You would think that they're at that point where they've come to the place where they could deal with issues of life. I mean, that's not the first time you're facing a work challenge. That's not the first time you're facing a breakup. That's not the first time you can. Let's talk about when anxiety meets depression. How do people get through this? How do they get to that point? Do you not realize that you're getting to that point, or is it that you're just probably in denial, or what's going on at this point, or anxiety is meeting depression, and this is happening a lot in this field?
All right, let me use a word that is the foundation of a lot of what we are facing. Well, it's a statement or phrase: unresolved issues. Unresolved issues. And the reality is, the onset of some of the symptoms we are facing as adults, it didn't start when we were adults. It started when we were children.
Yes.
And I said it when I came on your self-esteem um, series. Within the Caribbean, we find counseling, we find seeking help as taboo because it automatically means that something wrong with you and you don't know how to sort out your stuff.
Yes,
But the
yes.
reality is that as a body of Caribbean people, if we even go back to historical trauma, we are traumatized people. We are traumatized people, and it takes more than just dealing with that, or you will get over it, to really go down to the root of what's facing us. So when something is reinforced enough in someone's mind, so from the first breakup to the second time someone break up with you to the third time someone break up with you, and the first time you heard that you're worthless was with that breakup, and it keeps happening, then what those scenarios are doing is reinforcing that negative speech in your mind. So if daddy thought I was worthless and he used to abuse me, and then the boyfriend now tell me the same thing, that I'm worthless and he's abusing me, and then every other man that comes in now keeps doing the same thing because I'm putting myself in a cycle, then automatically in my mind I'm worthless. If mommy told me as a young man you'll amount to nothing, the teacher told me in school that your daughter she wouldn't amount to anything, then I automatically start to believe the talk. Yeah? So we're talking about self-fulfilling prophecy here, and
Prophecy.
that's why I love the scripture so much, because the scriptures actually align with what we're talking about here. Because the scripture asks us to recognize who we are. The
Mm.
scripture asks us to recognize who we are. So I see someone who has not resolved their issues. Um, it is easy and yet very dangerous if anxiety and depression comes together. What we call a comorbidity of disorders.
And in you sharing, which was very profound, there are signs and symptoms that we should look for as well, because you have loss in things that you enjoyed. You're no longer interested in it. Loss of interest. Your appetite. Either you start eating so much or you don't eat at all. Isolation, withdrawal, and as family members, we need to look into these things with our children. That's why we need to connect and stay close with our children from small, not just when they become teenagers because they're already set in their ways. But from the womb growing up, you monitor your child's behavior and you will always see when the changes come about so that you can step in and get help. Because I believe in referral. If you cannot handle a situation, then you refer the person to somebody who's qualified, like a qualified counselor, so that person can get the necessary help.
That takes me to my final set of questions. Let's help. Let's offer help to people because, like I said in a previous video, I hate gloom and doom. I like hope. I like knowing that there is a solution to every problem. So let's offer help. What can we say? And I'm just gonna just drop this question here before I go into this other question. Is there a specific age where you'd say, okay, it's around this age group that people start to suffer from, or is it suffer from? Suffer from anxiety and depression, or they face it, should I say? Is there a specific age group that's targeted with that? Any one of you could jump
I'll
in.
let Brother Martin go with this.
All right, so most onsets with any type of disorder, and let me note this because you said it when you started. A lot of us like to self-diagnose ourselves, and most times we are nowhere close to the criteria to meeting that disorder. So you hear a lot of persons sure around OCD, ADHD, depressed, anxiety. And if you actually look at the criteria, you are nowhere close there. So we should be careful not to label persons. And no way should this forum be used as someone looking at it. And just because you tick some of the markers, you say, okay, well, I am this. In order to be diagnosed, you have to go by a psychiatrist. You must meet certain criteria based on tests done for you to officially say that this is your diagnosis. Outside of that, I am cautioning persons, please do not diagnose yourself. Yeah, it's not healthy. But most onsets within most disorders, if you're looking at childhood, it's normally around the age of let's say 10 to 12, 10 to 13. Most onsets in where they say they diagnose some stuff like this. Other onsets are earlier, such as autism and stuff like that. It's earlier in age. But some of these behavioral ones, it's a little later in age, but it does not say that as an adult you cannot be diagnosed with it. Yeah. So the general age group we'll say, just to be safe, is from the age of 11, 12 onwards to diagnose someone with anxiety or depression.
All right. Now, I just want to clarify so that my viewers know. When I say this hits close to home, I mean I've experienced. I've heard of suicides. I've heard of a lot of things and it's just it hurts. Like you don't get used to death. You don't get used to hearing these things or seeing these things around you, and then you just wonder like your mind is just so many questions. Why would how does somebody get to that point and that they just give up? And obviously, it's refreshing to hear this information now. Let's talk about the solutions. What are you saying to people that, okay, first, I think Pastor Martin, thank you for doing that, for clarifying, get help, professional diagnosis before you start to say, okay, I'm there. Then what?
Well, I'm big on the mind. The mind is powerful. Scripture tells us be transformed by the renewing of the mind, and it doesn't just attribute or speak to your spiritual transformation, but your holistic transformation as well. The mind is a powerful tool. So part of the intervention is really helping that individual to process what they're experiencing differently. Yeah. So for depression, it's a failed expectation, something happened that caused severe distress, sadness, a sense of hopelessness. And if I could get you to change how you look at that situation, then we could pull you out of that place. And the same goes for anxiety. So one of the major interventions I'll say is strengthening the mind. Strengthening the mind. Also, a strong support system.
Right.
Yeah, a strong support system where we make mental health check-ins part of our everyday lives, and we allow persons to feel free to come to us and not throw around things like you're playing mad and
Mm-hmm.
these type of things. Yeah, allow persons the freedom and the space to come to us as confidants, because I will much rather you come to me, yeah, and talk to me 2 hours on the phone, that I have to hear a phone call saying that you are no longer with us. Yeah. So I'll just hold there and pass over to my sister this time.
Yeah, and while you said this, the individual must be receptive as well, because you cannot push. The most you can do is encourage. And I like the fact that you said support system, support network. And that's what keeps people, because when you're alone, you feel lost, you feel hopeless. It's like you have no energy and you just feel forsaken and abandoned. But when you have that support system, even if it's one person that is there for you 100%, it's going to help you to cross over. And I just want to encourage people to be supportive to their family members, to be supportive with your friends, to your friends, in whatever way you can lend support. And it's not financial support only that we are talking about, but that emotional support, that support to say, I am here when you need me. I'm just a phone call away. I'm just a walk away, or whatever it is. And you meet that person halfway. Sometimes you have to go 3/4 of the way, because that individual may not have that energy to meet you halfway. So you just have to give your all, and go with them. Sometimes you have to go with them to the clinic. All of that is being supportive, and tell them it is going to be okay. It's going to get better. And when they have progressed from one stage to the other, you compliment them and let them know that, you see, I told you we are going together and it will get better. And at the end of the day, when that person is empowered and that person is healed from their mental distraught, it is so satisfactory to you as an individual that helped them, far less that individual who have crossed that milestone. Yes, that milestone.
So powerful. Yeah. Also challenge yourself to move. Come out the house, take some fresh air,
Yes.
exercise. You will be surprised how much activity helps your brain to process what you're actually experiencing and going through. So resist the urge to isolate yourself and stay inside. Resist that urge to be in the dark and to be by yourself. That only worsens the depression or the anxiety. So challenge yourself to come out, get fresh air, and to exercise. And, push, push.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much. I'm happy you all stopped at this point because you all said you wouldn't make me cry, and I don't want to cry. So, thank you for sharing. I was hoping that would like make it a little bit more targeted on gender a little bit. But I'm gonna do that and just encourage both male and female. I feel like for men, you don't really hear men coming out a lot to talk about them being, I don't feel good today on a mental level. They just like, they man up, and society forces it on them to always be stronger, or to be like, you're okay. You're the one that's supposed to get through it. But I think men also face depression as well, and anxiety. Although I find women are more vocal about it, but I also want to encourage men, likewise women, and young people, if you feel that you're at this place where you need help, seek help. it's better to hear you got help than to hear you to attend your funeral. And I don't want to be attending any funerals. I'm out of clothes. I'm all out. So thank you guys so much for sharing. Thank you, Pastor Martin. Thank you, Angie. And thank you to the viewers at Nicola Land, Sister Angie.
Yes.
Nicola Land. Thank you guys. It's been amazing sharing with you guys. And like, share, subscribe. We do all the good stuff. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And you know, we are right here and we'll keep sharing information with you guys. Bye.
Yeah.